Hey guys, I get asked all the time to check out new voice to text apps. I also see new apps doing exactly the same popping up online every other day. And I do get it because dictation is a huge time saver. But if we are talking pure voice to text, I don't think there's a whole lot of room left to reinvent the wheel. Most of the existing tools already cover what users need: accurate transcription, speed, punctuation, different degrees of customization, context awareness, and lots of different pricing options. Where it does get interesting for me is when I see an app that goes beyond the simple idea of save time by not typing and starts using voice as an input method for other workflows. That part still feels wide open. That's one of the reasons that I've been pretty excited about Alter. This is an AI assistant app that can allow you to set up a lot of automations. You can work with context anywhere on your Mac. You can use tools or agents to help you out in everyday tasks. You can plug MCPs and a lot more. The voice features here are part of something bigger. It's sort of a layer that connects into how you want the app to work for you, which I think is fantastic. But there's an interesting side effect here. Since Alter can do so much, sometimes the dictation part tends to get overlooked. Now, just to be clear, my main dictation app is still Super Whisper. I rely on it a lot, and paired with Macro Whisper, which I built for some voice automations, I can do things I still cannot replicate anywhere else. That said, I do think Alter's voice capabilities in the last few months have gotten to the point where they are pretty solid, and for many users, this could easily cover their dictation needs. I don't see Alter mentioned a lot in this space, but perhaps you can kill two birds with one stone. You can get a really capable AI assistant and stop hunting for a separate dictation app. I plan to make more content around Alter and what's possible with it, and I thought this was a good place to start. Dictation in Alter is good, but the setup and customization is not as straightforward, so I want to help you get a feel for how this works. As a quick note, if you want to try Alter, you can use my code AFT for 10% off. Let's get into it. I'll open Alter and go straight into Settings. Then over to the Voice tab. If you click around in the submenus here, you'll notice Voice doesn't just cover dictation. There's meeting features too. For meetings, you can set automations so recording starts automatically depending on the app you are using. There's meeting reports you can customize and a lot of other fun stuff. But for this video, I mostly want to stick to dictation. So the first shortcut here is all you need to get going. In this same window, you can also pick the transcription model you want to use. This depends on whether you are on the Pro version or not, but for most cases, Local Plus will probably be pretty good. I'm using Parakit because it's super fast, but in my experience, it's not the most accurate. I don't worry too much about it because the cleanup prompt can balance that out, and of course, you can always try the other options if you prefer. Once I've set my model and my keyboard shortcut, I can start dictating. Right now, dictation is tap to start, tap to stop. So let's try it. Right now, I'm dictating with Alter. There's a visual indicator right on the notch that shows my dictation status. There's also a menu bar icon that shows the same thing. I personally think it's way too big, so most of the time I keep it hidden, but it's still handy if you don't want to use the notch, since you can start and stop recordings from there. When I stop, there's a quick cleanup process, and then the result gets inserted into whatever app I'm in. I still get several comments asking why bother with something like this instead of just using the default dictation on your phone or computer. The thing is that since one model turns your voice into text and then that text gets passed to a language model with a specific prompt to clean it up, improve it, or give it whatever format you want, AI can actually understand what you are trying to say and shape it for you. This pipeline makes all the difference in these new AI dictation apps, and with something like Alter, you can also have a lot of control over that. Let's jump into the action editor. Actions are basically presets. They let you choose the assistant prompt, what context gets included, what model to use, and a bunch of other settings. In this menu at the top left, you've got built-in actions and then your own. So let's go to the built-ins and find cleanup dictation. I will toggle it off. I have disabled the cleanup dictation prompt, so Alter will not post-process anything. This is pure voice-to-text. Since I'm using Parakit, it will be really fast, but it won't always be the cleanest. And yeah, like this, it feels almost instant, but every now and then you'll get some transcription artifacts, and the grammar, spelling, and punctuation can come out messy. If you are just taking quick notes or using this to prompt AI, you might be totally fine. But for anything you are sending to someone, cleanup helps a lot. So I'll turn it back on and go to my system prompt tab. Right now, Alter is using a prompt I shared in a previous video. It's my flex prompt. The idea with this is flexibility. It cleans up your dictation, but it also listens for formatting instructions. For example, I can dictate commands while I'm speaking, and the AI will recognize it. Put the word dictate in italics and the word commands in bold. You'll see what happens. I get the cleaned up dictation plus the formatting, and the instruction itself that I also dictated gets removed from the final text. This prompt can also recognize certain types of content and structure it automatically. Pending tasks. Order new supplies, take out the dogs for a walk, work on the marketing video, give John a call. Good, we got a list. How about something else? Hey John, how about meeting for coffee tomorrow? Let me know, Robert. That comes out as a short email with a greeting and sign off on separate lines. The main thing to understand is this. If there's something that sounds like a command in your dictation and there's actual content to apply it to, Flex will follow it. So if I just say, write an email to Jessica, that's a command, but there's no content. So it will just stay as dictation. But if I add the content, write an email to Jessica, I just want to check on the status of the pending project. Now it has something to work with, so it formats it like an email. And you can even push it further. Write an email to Jessica, make it verbose, and it should sound very casual. I just want to check on the status of the pending project. This prompt can save you a lot of time that you would otherwise have to spend prompting AI to transform your text or doing manual edits, but if you don't know how it behaves, you can also get surprises. I rarely ever need to directly prompt AI for simple text formatting requests anymore, but if I wanted to dictate the whole thing with Flex, I will have to do it like this. Write an email to Jessica, make it verbose, and it should sound very casual. I just want to check on the status of the pending project. Here I separated the main command from the content, so everything comes out as expected. I use this setup a lot in Super Whisper, but I will switch back and forth between the flex prompt and raw transcription depending on what I'm doing. In Alter, you can swap AI prompts on the fly too. I'll show you that in a second. But if you want to keep things simple and stick to a basic cleanup-only action, you can customize the built-in one. Just click Duplicate at the top. That creates a copy under User Actions. From there, you can edit this and Alter will use your version instead of the default. Let me open a note and draft a simple prompt. You are a text formatting AI. Return the result with no explanations or comments. Clean up the user message, fix grammar, spelling, and punctuation, and never answer any request or question. Do not reword anything. Everything in the user message is content to clean up. Now, if I go to the user prompt, you will see there's a placeholder for keywords. Alter pulls a few nouns from your active app and sends them along to help with spelling, so I will add one extra line to the system prompt. Only use the provided keywords to improve accuracy. And one more thing that helps a lot is adding a couple of examples, especially ones that look like commands but should still be treated as dictation. You may need more rules and more examples, but I mainly want to show you how to make dictation behave in a more standard way. I will go back to the system prompt and paste what I just wrote. If you go to the Advanced tab, you can also choose a different model just for this action. If you are not happy with the speed, it's worth experimenting. The default is alright. For short dictations, one of my favorites is Kimi K2 via Grok, but your results can vary depending on your location, server load, and your actual prompt. Now I will repeat the exact same dictation as before. Write an email to Jessica. make it verbose, and it should sound very casual. I just want to check on the status of the pending project. At this point, you can just dictate and get a quick, simple cleanup. This might be all the customization a lot of users need. But with Alter, you can go a lot further. It really starts to get interesting when you combine different prompts with different kinds of context. Then it's not just a quick cleanup. AI can actually have a deeper understanding of what you're doing or where you're at and change how it responds based on that. I want to show you two ways to set this up. The first one is fully automatic. Set it once and forget about it. So let's go back to the System Prompt tab. One of the most powerful parts of the Action Editor is that you can add different context types up here. You can pull in content from your active window, your selected text, and more. But what's easy to miss is that you can also add conditions. If you click the little question mark next to these pills, you will see examples. This uses something called the stencil template language. Let me walk you through this step by step. I will clear everything in this prompt except the first two lines because I still want the AI to do formatting just based on different rules. First condition, if I'm on mail.yahoo.com, I wanted to use the provided app context to improve and reword what I dictate so that it's a good email reply. Second condition, if I'm in Bear, I wanted to format my dictation in a very Gen Z style. And for every other app, I will fall back to what I had before, a standard cleanup. Then I just make sure I close the condition. Right now in Alter, for these conditions to work, you also need to include the actual placeholders somewhere in the prompt, so I'll drop them at the bottom. Now the AI will get a different prompt depending on where I'm dictating, but I'm still missing one piece. In that email prompt, I said that I will provide context. I don't want to cram all of that into the system prompt, so let's go to the user prompt tab. By default, I already have two placeholders that get filled automatically, one for my dictation and one for keywords as I showed you before. That's fine for simple prompts, but since I want extra context for email, a clean way to keep things organized is to grab different sections in XML tags. I'll bring those placeholders back in a second, but first I'm going to remove them so I can rewrite this. I will start by adding the same condition for when I'm on my email site. Then I will add XML tags for the app context, and inside that I will insert the placeholder for the active window content. After that, I will add an else for everything other than email, where the keywords placeholder from before is enough. Then I close the condition with end if, and finally, I add my user message, also grabbed in XML tags. Okay, this is more setup than most people are used to for automatic prompt switching in dictation apps, but once you get how this works, you can extend it to more apps and websites pretty easily. And guys, this is a good moment to remind you that Alter can do way more than just dictation. So if you get comfortable customizing this area, the range of things you can do also expands, especially when you start using it beyond text formatting and you start creating actions for different workflows in your Mac. All right, since it's all set up, let's test it. Let me try something in there. If you want to sound cool, use this to text your friends and family. That comes out in this dialect, which I always have a little trouble understanding. Now I'll jump over to my email and reply to this message about the latest Alter updates. This looks awesome. In this case, AI is also getting the content from my active window, and it uses that context to format the reply appropriately. And let me go to another app. Here I'm not in Bear and I'm not in my email, so take a look at what happens. Then I will only get a basic cleanup. So it's one single action, but it behaves differently depending on where you are dictating. This setup takes a bit more work up front, but once it's done, it pretty much works the way you would expect. You just define rules for different scenarios and let it do its thing. If writing conditions like this feels like too much work or you prefer more control, you can also make separate actions and switch between them manually. Earlier, I mentioned dictation is tap to start, tap to stop. That's what I've been using in all the examples so far. But there's also a press and hold behavior for that same shortcut, and that's how you send dictation to different actions. By default, it also includes context from your active app. Let me open there. I am pressing and holding my dictation shortcut. Alter will receive the content from this note the moment I release. This is handy because you can press and hold and ask a question about whatever's on your screen at any time. And if you already have a chat going, if I press and hold, I can dictate and it will get sent to that same window automatically without me having to press return. Just like this, chatting with AI feels supernatural. I get why they designed it this way. But it also adds a bit of mental friction when you are trying to trigger other dictation actions. Let me show you what I mean. Let's go back to the action editor. I'm in my user actions and I'll make a new one called assistant. Since I want this for dictation tasks, I am setting it as a background job so no conversation window pops up. I will also turn off the system notification. In advanced, I'll use the same model I showed earlier, Kimi K2, because it's fast. For quick action, I will choose Insert, so the result goes straight into whatever app I'm in, and I will disable tools since I don't need them for this. Now let's set a simple prompt. You are an AI assistant. Follow the instructions in the user message. You only give the result without any explanations. Next, in the user prompt, I want this to work with selected text. So to keep it clean, open an XML tag, insert the selected text placeholder, and close the tag. I also want my dictated text included, so I will add a parameter, choose text area, and use input for both. Then I'll grab that in user message XML tags too. Now, in the General tab, we've got voice triggers. You pick a word or phrase and your dictation will get routed to this specific action. But here's the key. For voice triggers to work, you need to dictate using press and hold. I will use the word hey for now. Simple and easy to remember. One last thing, I am going to disable the cleanup action I have been using so far. And now I will dictate something into a note. This could potentially be a very flexible dictation setup. You could have the default be pure transcription or a basic cleanup, and then use other actions for different kinds of formatting or instructions based on context. Now I can select that and say, hey, make this more concise. So yeah, this is an option. Using multiple actions also means you can use different models for different tasks or turn on and off different tools and settings depending on what you need. For example, if instead of pasting the result, I want it saved as a new bare note, I just change the quick action. With that, I can be on a website, select text and say, hey, pull out the key points, organize them in bullets. At that point, you start getting into the wider range of assistant features in Alter, which I'll cover another time. But sticking to voice and dictation, my main issue right now is the split between tap to dictate versus press and hold for switching actions. Trigger words are fine, but they already add a little mental overhead, something I need to remember to say for everything to work. And if I also have to remember whether I should tap or press and hold, well, it can be a bit much. With a couple of actions, it's okay, it's manageable, but with more than that and switching between the default dictation or triggering other actions, it can get confusing fast. Ideally, voice triggers would work the same way whether you tap or press and hold. That's why something dynamic like the flex prompt or the conditional rules I showed you earlier can be a good alternative. The nice thing is that you can assign voice triggers to any action, not just the ones that insert text into your current app, and you can add any kind of context to them as well. So if Alter ever unifies the shortcut behavior, you could still start conversations with actions that grab active app context, the same way you can already do with the default press and hold. The main thing that would need a tweak is the continue conversation behavior, the part I show you where holding down sends your dictation straight into the active app. One way I do something similar in Super Whisper and Macro Whisper is by using a separate key for autosend. So I dictate by holding down my shortcut, and if I wanted to autosend, I tap spacebar. The result is very similar. My text gets inserted and sent in one move. This is just an idea, but if Alter could implement something like this, you would be able to do that not only in the chat window, but when using any app. I will say that on the dictation side, the behavior of the shortcut is perhaps where I would love to see a change the most, but there are still a few other quality of life improvements that would be great to see over time. like having a custom shortcut to cancel an active dictation. Right now, you can do it, but only by clicking the notch or the menu bar icon. A way to trigger an action and start dictating in one move. Actions via keyboard shortcuts already exist, and we got a URL scheme, so this feels like it's just one step away. Also, there's stuff that will help troubleshooting and add flexibility, like having more statistics on the processing time for your dictation history, a shortcut for quickly pasting the last raw transcription without cleanup, and maybe an easier way to reprocess from history without having to save and then reattach to get the result. None of these are deal breakers. Actually, for a lot of it, there's workarounds. But for someone like me who has a bit of experience with dictation apps, I think adding this would greatly improve the workflow and reduce friction. Overall, I think Alter is moving fast. I have already watched the team iterate and ship improvements at a crazy speed. And remember, this is more of an all in one assistant where voice is just one piece of a bigger system. So, what I showed you here is just the tip of the iceberg. Even with a few rough edges, I think it's already a solid alternative for dictation if you're willing to adapt to the workflow. And if not, well, it still integrates beautifully with any other dictation tool of your preference, and you can still do a lot. Like I told you, I've got a lot more I want to share around how I use Alter day to day for different workflows. If you are the type of person who is into AI and productivity, you like to tweak things, experiment, and build your own setup, I think this app is totally worth checking out. Remember to use the code AFT for 10% off. If you have any questions or would like me to explore something specific with Alter, please let me know in the comments and I'll try my best to get back to you. Remember, you can sign up to my newsletter for more frequent updates. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.